Okay, so this session is dedicated for thread creation and life cycle using Pthreads in C. Consider this situation like your program needs to calculate factorial, display output, and take user input. So if you do everything one by one, the user has to wait. But modern programs don't work like that. They do multiple things at the same time. And this is possible because of threads. So why do we need thread functions? An important question for which we need to find the answer ultimately. Before we learn functions, let us answer a fundamental question. Why do we need pthread functions at all? Problems without threads, like only one task executes at a time, CPU remains underutilized, programs become slow. Then what threads provide us, like which we talked in previous session? Parallel execution, better performance, and faster response. But threads are not automatic. So we must create them, control them, synchronize them, even clean them. And that is why we need pthread functions. So let us understand these pthread functions one by one. So let me first write pthread underscore create. So if you see, this function is used to create a new thread. So it has 4 parameters. So why do we need this pthread create? Without this function, no new thread can be created. Program will remain single threaded. And this is the starting point for multi-threading. So let us explain these parameters in detailed manner. First parameter is pthread add. Sorry, pthread underscore t thread. This stores the identity of the thread. It is like a roll number of a student. So this is used later for thread joining, thread detaching, and so on. Second parameter there is this pthread attribute. This controls how the thread behaves. So if null, the default settings are used, and if customized, then stack size, scheduling, detachable or joinable, this information needs to be written. So as a beginner, we will usually use null there. Third parameter is the start routine. This is a function that the thread will execute. Note here, it must return void star and it must accept void star. What is why void star? Because it allows passing any data type, makes function flexible. And last is void arg, void pointer arg or star arg. This is the data passed to the thread. So examples maybe like integer, via pointer, structure, array. Now how to use this pthread create? So let us say so in C, what I have to do first is like in a program, you have to declare this variable say thread. This is how you declare the thread variable. Correct. Here thread is a variable created with that type. Now how to define a thread function? So you just write say void, as we stated, it should return void star, then your my function. And it should take parameters as void star arg. Correct. And then like ultimately here it will contain your logic of that function. Then once this is done, when you define this function, then you use pthread create. Then what you have to do is you have to first write the thread. Correct. So if you see when we okay, let me open one more terminal and write man pthread underscore create. So first is the thread variable. So it is a pointer. So we have to write it as thread with address. Then your function name. So for example, in this case, it is my function. Correct. And then you have to just write ampersand data. Now let us understand what exactly it is. So we missed one parameter where initially it should be written as null. Thread starts immediately after creation. Execution order is not fixed. Now, what are the common mistakes? You may pass wrong function signature. You may pass local variable incorrectly, and you can sometimes ignore or you may ignore the return value. So this is how you use a create function. Similarly, there is an exit function. Correct? So pthread underscore exit. This function contains parameter as return value. Fine. Now, why do we need pthread exit? To terminate the thread safely. Now, without it, thread may terminate abruptly. Resources may not be cleaned. So the parameter that we used here is void star retrieval, value returned by the thread. It can store the result and it is retrieved using next function that would be talking about pthread join. Now, how to use this? You just write, say for example, like this: pthread exit, and you just write here null. It works. Now, important case, like if main uses return 0, like in your main function, when you write return 0 as the last statement before curly bracket of main, closing curly bracket of main, all threads will stop immediately. And if main function uses this kind of statement, pthread exit, only the thread responsible would be terminated. Other threads continue. Correct. So this is how it works. Then there's a function, another function called pthread join. Now, if you see, it takes again two values, the thread variable and the return value. But again, like here, why do we need this function? Wait for the thread completion to collect the result and to prevent the memory leaks. Now, parameters are like pthread underscore t with thread variable. So, which thread to wait for? And void double star rate val. It is where to store the return value. If not needed, you just write null. So, for example, if you write like this, pthread join, then you just write t comma null, say for example, or you can say thread, like we use thread variable, so you use the same thing. So what happens internally when you write this? Calling thread pauses. It waits for the target thread and resumes after completion. And without join, thread memory is not freed. Program may behave incorrectly. So common errors generally are you forgot to join and or joining the same thread twice. Then another function which is available is pthread detach. Again, this is used for detaching. So why do we need this? To allow automatic cleanup, and this doesn't no need for this doesn't require join. So pthread detach contains a parameter, the thread variable. Now you have to compile a link with dash pthread. That's what it says. How to use it? You just use pthread detach and then your thread variable, which we declared earlier. So this would be like thread runs independently, OS frees the resources automatically. So when to use this? Whenever you are performing some background tasks and you are not expecting any return value, then this is best one. So important rule here to understand is detached thread cannot be joined and it cannot return the value. Now complete flow is important. So flow is what? Here when you use any thread functions. So first of all, create, then execute, then terminate, and then clean up. So the functions are, your responsible function is pthread underscore create. Then this is your thread function that you would be writing. This terminate is return or pthread underscore exit, and clean up either detach or join. Join or detach. So you have to just communicate it by writing pthread underscore join or pthread underscore detach. So this is the flow. So create, run, finish, clean up. Now threads share global variables and heap. We know threads have separate stack and separate execution state. Execution cannot be predictable because OS decides the scheduling. So common mistakes probably could be, you are not using say pthread join. You are passing wrong arguments. You are assuming order of execution, and you are not. You are using detach and join together. So pthread creates thread. Pthread exit ends thread safely. Pthread join waits and cleans the thread, and pthread detach automatic cleanup. So thread improve performance, but only when you properly create, control, and clean them. So understanding these four functions is the foundation of multi-threading in C. Thank you.